iNDie Chats. I'm Nicole Delger of NicoleDelger.com. I'm here in the Portraits to the People studio in San Francisco, and I'm joined by Kramer, and she is of Flourish and Thrive Academy. Robin, we've talked a little bit. You have amazing experience. You work with a lot of different jewelry designers, and we're talking about when people are getting going and they want to know more about where to go with their business and their message. What's advice you like to give?
I think it's really important that everyone, when they start this business, know their why. Why are you doing this? Why are you getting into this? What is your passion? What is your drive? And with knowing your why, you can really, my recommendation is to write that down, to really kind of investigate that and have it where you see it multiple times a day. Because as we have our own businesses and kind of move along, and especially for jewelry designers, things can get very frustrating, and you want to have that be reminded of why you're in this business in the first place.
I love that. Stick it right above your desk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get that reminder.
And you work with the jewelry designers and the independent brands, and when it comes to growing your business and getting out there and getting customers, what's the advice that you like to give?
Well, I think there's this whole misconception that you have to please everybody. Mm. And it's really important to know who your customer is, because if you're casting this huge wide net, you really come up with no one. And by being very focused on who you are going, who your customer is, and really defining who he or she by name, where they grew up, where they live now, their education, the music that they like to listen to, what it does is your whole business kind of evolves from that, because it's your marketing, it's your branding, it's everything that you do will go directed to that person. Now that doesn't mean that other people can't buy from you. I also think that sometimes people get freaked out by that. By branding yourself and really focused on who your customer, that ideal dream client we like to call it, you're actually going to be much more successful.
You were saying earlier too, when you're talking to everybody,
right?
You're
talking to no one.
Yeah.
So you're just spreading yourself. It's kind of like giving a little bit of yourself to a lot of different people, and then you kind of come up exhausted and really not directed, and it shows in your brand. You're very scattered. And
I love what you said too, along those lines of when you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody, is that when you're trying to focus on that ideal client, there's fear.
I think that's really important, of knowing your why. Because we get into business, and I'm going back to the jewelry designer, because of the passion behind it. And I'll use my business partner, Tracy. Tracy does custom jewelry. And what's really cool is by honing in on who her ideal client is. I mean, her custom jewelry starts at $1,000 because she has done the work to look and see who are her ideal
client. Figuring out who that woman is that can have that $1,000 piece.
Right, and who has $5,000 to spend on a bracelet. So what she's done is all of her marketing, all of her referrals, everything goes, it's all really targeted. Now, it's also, again, I don't want people to be in that fearful place that doesn't mean it doesn't open up to other possibilities and other people shopping from you. It's just, it makes as a designer, your job so much easier.
We were talking a little bit more about systems and the classes around that. I'd love for you to talk more about systems and processes.
Well, one of the things that certainly Tracy and I have learned in our business and our businesses separately as well is that when you're starting out and you're doing everything, you're wearing so many different hats that it's hard to kind of catch up. You're just doing. And without putting processes and systems in place, you're kind of doing this repetitive, well, not even, you're just, there's no one can come in and help you do this.
That's a great point. I love that. I want to stop you there. I just want to keep going. Is nobody can come help you when you're all over the place and you're scattered. Yes, you need an administrative assistant, but what would he or she be able to look at and do? And I think that's a really great point. What are some of the processes in your own business the tools that you use? Because it's one thing to say use processes, and we all know what that looks like in good form, but I'm curious, what are your own processes?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Being starting out new in this business, Flourish and Thrive will be a year in July, and so we hit the ground running. And having my business partner be in New York City, and I live in the Bay Area, we have come up with our own systems. We use Skype and we use Google Docs, so we'll be working on documents at the same time, and we get to brainstorm with one another and change things up live time, which is great. We also have time trade if we're trying to schedule appointments. We've got teleseminar that we use for our seminars, so we can also do replays for our Flourish and Thrive students. And so we've come up with ways, but in addition, we have a project manager who we are working with on our timeline.
That's awesome.
And we like to practice what we preach, and we're actually in the process of documenting all of our processes. So when we launch one of our courses, and I like to do this starting with what's the date that it's going to happen and work backwards.
For my own reflection in my own business, I actually started using Evernote to keep track of what I'm doing. And what I found was, it took time to train myself to learn how to do it, but I actually have more time now because I joke, I'm not a procrastinator. I'm actually the opposite of that. I feel like overwhelmed. If I have something on my list, I have to do it right then and there. And Evernote allowed me to go, hey, take Saturday off, go get a massage, go on a run. You have time before this deadline. So implementing those kinds of systems for myself has been really, really great. So I think that's a great insight. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to put faith on my calendar now every morning. I love that advice. It's really great. So for those who are watching and they want to know more about working with you, where can they learn it?
Well, you can find us. Our website is flourishthriveacademy.com, and there's no and in there, so it's just flourishthriveacademy.com. You can also find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Come visit us. We have a great community, and we love having designers join us.
And if you have any comments or thoughts on today's conversation, we'd love to hear from you. So visit us on the blog at NicoleDelger.com. While you're there, feel free to hop on my newsletter. I'd love to be able to reach out and reconnect with you. Thanks so much to Sarah Deragon of Portraits to the People for having us in her beautiful studio. And until next time.
What is your favorite curse word?
Well, I'm trying to bring dang back, but I know it's not a curse word, but I think it's a great word.